It's Alix Perez. We're here with D&BTV in London Bridge, talking about 1984, which is out on Shogun Audio, 12th of October. When I grew up, well, I was mainly listening to what my parents were listening to. I mean, from the age of, I guess I started getting a slight interest in music when I was like maybe 10 years old, something like that. So it was more an influence of what my parents were listening to. And my dad was pretty much all over the shop, you know, quite various. He listened to from 60s up to, well, current music. My mum was my main mentor for drum and bass, as she was actually playing drum and bass when I was at the age of like maybe 14, 15 when we first moved to the UK. I regularly play what I make to my mum, like I said, and she always seems to pick out the ones that do really well. So she's probably the first person I'd call to get some feedback. "1984" approximately took about a year and a half to make. That's actually the writing process of it. I did, spend some time before, kind of planning, I guess, the concept of it, but musically about a year and a half. It's actually my birthday. I spent a lot of time, looking into kind of a name that's quite representative for the project and the sound and everything else, and I thought of my birthday, the whole thing just made sense really, kind of represent me and kind of my first album, and I don't know, it just sounded right. The most interesting aspect of the album for me has been the collaborations, especially working with people like Ursula Rucker and Pevin Everett. They're 3-4 years ago, I never thought I'd be, collaborating and having those people on board for the album. So it's amazing, really, for me. Foreign Beggars guys, I was into UK hip hop I've always been into hip hop, but I was into UK hip hop when I moved here, and to work with those guys, they were so professional, and there's just a real good vibe about it, and I really wanted with the album to take people on board outside of drum and bass, not use like the kind of usual suspects, in terms of vocalists, like kind of bring something new to the table and see if it would work with drum and bass, and I'm just really happy that it's actually come together. The title track, 1984, is quite personal. There's actually, apart from the vocal, there's no samples in that tune. I wrote it all, played all the chords, all the synths. It's all made on the Virus, like the synth I've got, Virus TR Polar. So it's quite meaningful because, in the past I've done a lot of sample-based music, and I'm getting into actually writing my own music and composing. That really means a lot to me, and there's actually quite a lot of the tunes on the album that are pretty much solely written by me, like these sounds coming from my own synth, like a track called Voices on there, which is more of a dance floor number, but yeah, so I mean that's the kind of more meaningful to me, and like I said, the Pevin Everett collab with Spectra Souls, probably, yeah, that and the Ursula Rucker thing are probably my favourites. I always enjoy doing collaborations because in the end, I guess it's like a collaboration of both our sounds, but there's always something new comes out of it. There's an element of it that comes out of it that may not have necessarily been if I did it on my own. And I've worked with Saber a lot in the past, and to this day we can still work together and I think make quite emotional music. Like there's always been this thing with Saber's collaboration, is like we're going quite deep, and it's really musical, and that's actually another track that I didn't mention. The Hemlines, the outro track, is probably for me the most like kind of emotionally powerful track on the album, so that was really good as well. I was really happy with the outcome of that. My hopes for it is that it's going to be really well received. I mean, we've been getting really good feedback already from people at Radio 1 and DJs outside of drum and bass, you know, like Benji B and Rob the Bank and people like that, you know, playing the music is great. My aim is to have a project where I can really be free in terms of tempos, you know, like you can go from 80 to 140 to maybe higher and work within those tempos under a certain sound, you know. In a weird way, now that I finished the album, I'm really itching to write again. It's a different feeling because, you know, I'm not constricted within that album, you know, in that sense I'm not constricted within the album, so I kind of want to get back in the studio. I'm just giving my break and collecting some sounds and making sounds before I go back in, because I definitely need a little break. 1984 is available digitally on download.breakbeat.co.uk.